We are a couple minutes over, and I could not be more excited to have each and every single one of you guys with us today, where we will be demoing Lens 5 beta. I do want to emphasize again that this is a beta, so we're looking for feedback, comments, and people to test the beta to see how it's going. There's several things that we will be taking a look at today. Lens Spaces, which is a cloud-based enhancement within Lens 5 beta. We'll take a look at Hotbar, which should be thought of as a navigation bar, allowing you to build specific workflows within Lens. And then we'll talk about the catalog, which is quite exciting. The catalog should be thought of as a cloud-native directory that has all of your resources, pipelines, clusters, extensions in Lens. So you can utilize them, take a look at them, click on them, and so forth. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Edward Iannell. I'm on the growth and developer relations team here at Mirantis, specifically on the open source product team for Lens. And with me today is Laurie.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Lauri Nevala, and I'm one of the core developers of Lens IDE.
Thank you, Laurie. Yeah, so as mentioned, guys, we will be taking a look at the demo. We will specifically be showing how to share a Kubernetes cluster securely, efficiently, and in an encrypted fashion through Lens Spaces. Then we'll take a look at several different functionalities, as mentioned, the hotbar and the catalog. So before jumping into the demo, I do want to get a better understanding of all of you guys, where you individuals are from, your Kubernetes initiatives, have you used Lens before, and then we can jump into the demo itself. And I do want to mention again that Lens 5 beta is a beta, so there will be some bugs and things that we are still working out before the official release. So thank you all for joining, and I will be launching a poll, and I really would appreciate if each and every single one of you participates in the poll itself. So let's jump into the poll. I'll launch it now. So the first question is, where is everyone from? Hopefully you guys can see the poll, because I do not see anybody answering it, but I'm sure you can. Now we're getting some answers. Awesome. The second question is, how long have you been using Lens? The third question is, what is your primary job function? This gives us a good understanding of who we're interacting with today. So it's quite necessary for ourselves to better demonstrate how to utilize Lens 5 beta. Awesome. The fourth question, how far along are you in your Kubernetes adoption journey? And the fifth, what are your biggest Kubernetes challenges? Awesome. Once everybody answers the poll, I will actually go through the answers with each and every single one of you, because I'm unsure if you guys can see them. I'm guessing you cannot. So let's get started. Where is everyone from? 31% of our audience is from North America. 6% are from South America. 56%, wow, the numbers are changing. 56% are from Europe. 1% from the Middle East, welcome, and 1 from APAC. Okay, cool. Nobody's from Antarctica. That's how I know everybody's being honest. I like to include that one. The next one, how long have you been using Lens? 16% less than a month. 21% less than 3 months. Another 21% less than 6 months. And then less than a year, 0%, that's fine. And then greater than 1 year, 37% of our audience has been using Lens for over 1 year now. And then for one individual has never used Lens. So I do want to mention to that one individual that Lens is an open source technology that allows you to take a look at multi-cluster Kubernetes management. You can see how your cluster is performing, take a look at all of your Kubernetes resources, access different clusters while always maintaining the correct Kubernetes endpoint. So if you switch from cluster to cluster, you will always connect to the correct Kubernetes endpoint. I think that is so important to mention, because it's going to decrease user error when working with multiple Kubernetes clusters. Since majority of our audience has been using Lens, we will not take a look at the current Lens 4.2 release, and we will be taking a look at strictly Lens 5 beta. Excellent. Next question, what is your primary job function? 14% are developers, 36% are architects, welcome. 5% are SecOps, 32% are DevOps, 9% are either an operator, IT admin, or site reliability engineer. And we have 5% that is a scientific research or a data analyst. In Zoom, you can show results to everybody. I can't see the option here, but if I figure it out, I absolutely will. Thank you for letting me know. The next question, how far along are you in your Kubernetes adoption journey? 17% are still in the education and learning phase. That's absolutely fine. 17% are in development. Another 17% is in proof of concept. Excellent. And then the rest, which is 57%, is deployed in production. And the final question, what are your biggest Kubernetes challenges? Complexity is coming in at 63%. Cultural changes and development is at 50%. Security, 54%. And storage at 21%. Awesome. Thank you, everybody that filled out the survey. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. From here, what we will do is we will actually take a look at Lens 5 beta. So I'll be starting off by sharing my screen and allowing everybody to see where you can actually go and download Lens 5 beta. It is not in our GitHub repository as of now because it is a beta. So we still want individuals to be using Lens 4.2, which is our newest release. And we as well would like to see individuals trying out the beta. So without further ado, let's jump directly into the demo. I'll start by sharing my screen. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. And to access the beta, you're going to come to our website. Whoops, that's a misclick. Once you're on our website, you'll see this ribbon on the right-hand side. Let me just move this chat and move this screen real quick. Try Lens 5 beta. Clicking here will bring you to this GitHub page. Here we have an overview of what Lens 5 beta is, the 3 core functionalities within Lens 5 beta, which I already mentioned. Lens Spaces, it's a cloud-based enhancement. The catalog should be thought of as a cloud-native directory with all your services, tools, pipelines, automation, clusters, extensions, and so forth. And then, of course, the Hotbar, which is the main navigation within Lens 5 beta. And it's going to allow our users to build specific workflows, which is quite awesome. So dependent on the operating system you're using, you can download for Mac, Windows, or Linux. I've already downloaded, so I'm not going to download currently. Instead, I'm going to launch Lens 5 beta on my operating system. So I'll go to Finder, I'll click Lens 5 beta. We'll open it. It's verifying, which is fine. We'll open it. Launching Lens 5 beta. Awesome. So we're not going to upgrade. Here you can see Lens 5 beta, and there's several different things that you need to do when actually jumping into Lens 5 and the beta itself. The first thing is if you want to utilize the cloud-based functionality within Lens 5 beta, you do need to create an account. And the reason for this is because it allows us to securely share Kubernetes clusters with our users in an encrypted fashion. So to be able to share with Laurie, I need his username to actually share that Kubernetes cluster with him. So the first thing you would do, and I'm just going to log out here actually. The first thing you would need to do is join Lens Spaces. Clicking this link will redirect you to a page where you can create an account. I do want to mention that creating an account is only specific to Lens Spaces. It's not specific to any of the other Lens versions or releases, meaning you can go to our GitHub repository, download Lens 4.2, and we would never ask you for your user credentials. It's only for accessing the cloud-based enhancement. Awesome. Since I already have a Lens Spaces account, I'm not going to create one in this demo, and I hope you guys can understand. So we'll log in. When you click the Lens login button, you will be brought to your account sign-in. To Edward. And yes, I'm the first one with username Edward. I'm quite happy about it, by the way. Now that I'm logged in, we can jump back to Lens. And at the bottom right-hand corner, we can see that I am logged in as Edward. The first thing you want to do when being able to share a Kubernetes cluster securely is you need to create a space where you will add a team member to that specific space. I want to mention that within the space, you can perform specific permissions and you can revoke access to that cluster at any point. The space administrator will have that functionality. We also always leverage your role-based access control from your kubeconfig file. Great. So first things first, there's several ways you can add a space. You can click your username at the bottom. You can go to my profile, or you can just click add a space. So I'll start off by doing add a space. Today we will do Laurie Edward 1.0 space. Oh. The space Laurie Edward has been created. So just for demonstration purposes, if I go to my profile, which is my profile, I can see all the spaces that I have current access to, right? So we have our Lens app space for our beta testers. We have our Mirantis space. We have our KubeCon space for a demo we did earlier today in KubeCon. And then of course we have the space I just created, which is Laurie and Edward's space. From here, I can edit the space, change the display name, description. Maybe I want to say these are only for production clusters or development clusters and so forth. But instead, I want to just add Laurie to my space to be able to invite him to the space and access one of my Kubernetes clusters. So to do so, I will type in his name. I believe it's this.
Actually, you need to click this invite new members.
Oh, thank you. That's funny. Do that. Huh. 1 second. That's why. Perfect. So I'll grab his username. We'll click invite. So the invite has been sent. He has the ability to actually go and accept that invite. Laurie, should I allow you to share your screen now so users can see the invite? Or should we just jump into me sharing the cluster with you? What do you prefer?
Maybe you can share the cluster so I can then show from my screen all those stuff.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So from here, what you would want to do is obviously exit out of your settings and click catalog. Within your catalog, we'll have your clusters that you import directly into Lens. You can do so using a kubeconfig file, which we would press here. You can select the kubeconfig file, or you can paste it as text, the kubeconfig file. It's up to you. I already have a cluster added, so I won't do so. I'll click my cluster. I need to connect it. And here you guys can see the pre-built-in Prometheus that Lens has that shows us how our cluster is performing, right, in the last hour, which is quite valuable. So before sharing the cluster, for the individual that has never utilized Lens, this is the overview screen that you will access when you add a cluster. You'll see your pre-built-in Prometheus. You'll see how your cluster is performing in the last hour from the CPU to the memory and the pods. You can view all your nodes. You can see how your nodes are performing in the last hour from your CPU to your memory, your disk, your pods. And of course, based on your role-based access control, there's various different functionalities that you can perform within Lens. For example, you can shell into this pod or this node. You can cordon it. You can drain it. You can edit the resource if you have the correct permissions, if you choose to do so. And I know many of you guys already understand this, but since we have somebody that's new, I did want to highlight this for that individual. You can always see an overview of all of your workloads and resources as well, your pods, deployments, stateful sets, replica sets, and so forth. And you have the ability to filter by namespace. Clicking into pods, you can see all of your pods, what they're controlled by, the node they're associated to, the namespace, and again, you can click into them and see how they're performing. You can view the logs and so forth. Excellent. So from there, we're actually going to go and share this cluster. So I'm going to click catalog again, which will take us back to our cloud native resources. And when we do launch Lens 5, we will have various different resources that you can add here. For example, extensions, clusters, and so forth. So for demonstration purposes, I'm going to share this cluster. Click share cluster. And from here, you're going to want to find the space that you wish to share the cluster to. As you guys noticed, I created a space, shared that space with Laurie, and from here, I'll find that space, Laurie and Edward. I'll click it, and here you want to choose the region for the Cluster Connect server infrastructure. This is the backend architecture that actually allows us to share Kubernetes clusters with one another in a secure fashion, right? So Laurie's in Europe, I'm in North America. I'm going to click Europe. And the Lens Spaces agent has it installed. Excellent. So from here, you can see that our label is space equals Laurie Edward. So this is a shared cluster. I can click into it. Obviously, it's the same cluster that we just accessed and viewed. And the reason it's much slower now is it's in Europe, right? The resource we're using is in Europe. From here, though, I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen and allow Laurie to access that space and share with you guys what he is able to see now. So I'll stop my screen share. And Laurie, I hope you have the ability to be able to share.
Yeah, I have. So just a moment.
Try now. Excellent.
All right. So first, when Edward shared the space, to me, I got the email that says that, hey, Edward has invited me to join space. Yeah, if I don't have Space's account yet, I can do an sign up for space. But because I have already account, I can go to my profile, and on Spaces section, I can see that I have invitation pending here. What I can do here is I can accept this and go back to catalog, and it should.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see the one cluster is coming from Laurie Edward space, and I can click it, and yeah, without any kubeconfig files or anything, I'm able to connect to that cluster.
Wow.
All right, I will hands over you now the screen. Go ahead.
And let me just share my screen again. Desktop 1, share. Excellent. So as you guys saw, Laurie now has access to that cluster. And within Lens, you actually have the ability to give specific permissions to that cluster by creating specific teams for that space. So meaning, if I want to create a specific team for this space that has different purposes and functionality within that space and those clusters, I can create a team, right? So I can create an admin team, I can create a developer team, I can create an operator team, and those teams will all have different functionalities and permissions that allow them to do various different things. So that's very, very important to note. So as we saw, Laurie has access to my cluster. He can perform various different actions. He can view them. He can do whatever he chooses to do so. And I'm sure many of you guys noticed that the metrics weren't visible there. That's just because he didn't install them directly to that cluster from his Lens IDE. So you can do that in several different ways, just accessing Lens and the settings and the preferences and so forth. Awesome. So that is Lens Spaces, right? And it's a cloud-based enhancement that, again, allows us to share clusters in an encrypted fashion securely with our colleagues. If I choose to revoke access, for example, I can go to Spaces, I can edit this space, and of course, I have the ability going to members to actually remove him from this space. Removing him from this space immediately takes him away from being able to access that cluster, right? So he no longer has access to the cluster. I immediately revoked his access, and I would have to re-invite him if I choose to do so. So again, I can invite new members here. We can search their name, invite new members, and so forth. And then we can create our teams for various different permissions that we choose to do. Awesome. So that's lens spaces. I'm glad we started with that first. We were able to touch a little bit on the catalog itself. So here is your catalog. Your catalog should be thought of somewhat as a cloud native directory that allows you to access and view and have various different resources, pipelines, Kubernetes clusters, extensions, and so forth in one place. So you can actually find these things very, very easily, right? Our goal for our users is to create a much more efficient environment when working with Kubernetes and other cloud native tools and initiatives, right? The next thing I want to highlight is the Lens Hotbar. And the Lens Hotbar and the catalog go hand in hand. And the reason I say this is any item within your catalog can be added to a hotbar, meaning I can grab this cluster, add it to a hotbar, and we have a quick navigation on the left-hand side, which is your hotbar, to be able to access that cluster or whatever that resource may be. So again, I can say add to hotbar. We have it here. I mean, these are the same clusters, but you understand, you can see now that you're able to create specific workflows and work much more efficiently. So I can have 10, 15 different clusters here that I switch between at any point, or I can have extensions or any other cloud native resource that can be leveraged within Lens. So I know we went through a lot of this very, very quickly, and I apologize for that, but those are the three key functionalities that are brought to Lens 5 beta. And again, as mentioned earlier, it is a beta. So we would love for each and every single one of you to test it and let us know in our Slack community channel how it's going. So that is Lens 5 beta. And those are the three core functionalities. Again, there's Lens Spaces, cloud-based enhancement that you need to sign up for. Traditional Lens, the open source tool, you do not need an account for. So you can still access your hotbar and your catalog without creating a Lens Space and account. That's important to know. Then we have our catalog and our hotbar that are introduced with Lens 5 beta. Current Lens 4.2 utilizes workspaces that allows you to create specific folders for your cloud, for your Kubernetes clusters that allow you to work much more efficiently. But the catalog will allow you to bring in various different cloud native resources in one place. Awesome, guys. So I know we're ending a little bit early, actually quite early. So I wanted to open this up to questions for myself and Laurie, if you guys have any. So I'm going to stop sharing and actually jump back to the chat and see if any of you guys have any questions for us. Laurie, can you also see the chat?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Excellent. Can do with LDAP. The spaces end-to-end encrypted. It absolutely is. Laurie, do you want to talk a little bit about how the end-to-end encryption works?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So how it works is that the Lens IDE and the cluster connect component that it will be installed inside the cluster, they have the encryption keys. So only those parts can decrypt the traffic that is sent between IDE and Kubernetes cluster. So despite the traffic goes through our service, we are not able to see what is actually containing in those messages that are sent through the service. So only those parts, Lens IDE and cluster connect components, they can decrypt the messages.
Excellent. Laurie, we have a similar question in the Q&A. You may be able to see it at the bottom right. It's by Suman, and I'm sorry if I butchered your name. They're asking, sharing clusters can make life easy for DevOps, but then how do we ensure that only authorized persons are able to share the cluster? Do we exchange any authentication tokens between groups and the users?
Yeah. So it goes then that again, this cluster connect component, it authorizes all requests that are coming from the tunnel that is established between Lens IDE and cluster components. And the cluster connect component will authorize all requests that they are coming from lens spaces, and only users that are allowed to use or they have access to that space can interact with the cluster.
Awesome. And for individuals that have not seen this question, Stefan asked, do I need to reinstall the Lens metric stack? Laurie answered this question in the Q&A chat, and he said, the reason I do not see the metrics on a shared cluster is I do not have RBAC rights to see those, right? So we're always leveraging the role-based access control from the kubeconfig file.
Yeah, and this is something that we need to improve before going GA with the lens spaces, because of course it would be nice if user can see those metrics.
So we also were asked another question, and this is a fantastic question. What is the future of Spaces account? Free in the future also? Yeah, so we do have backend resource spent. We do inquire those. So we are spending money on our own. Lens Spaces will always be free for a limited usage. If we see, and there's nothing set in the roadmap as of now, but if we see anything where it's a ton of usage and we can't support those backend resources and those costs, then we may have to introduce something. But as of right now, Lens Spaces is free for limited usage. And you can see that within the application as well. Excellent question. Looks like we're getting some more questions. I think Laurie answered that question already. Do you plan to support AWS Access Key ID for using clusters configuration profiles? Laurie, I'll push that question to yourself as well.
Please, could you elaborate a bit, or
using
what do you mean with clusters configuration profiles? And meanwhile, there is question about, is it possible to integrate Lens with LDAP server for authentication? For Lens Spaces, for sure, we are bringing some enterprise options to use some LDAP server things, but how we are going to do that, it's still a bit unknown. But for sure, there will be some features that are suitable to enterprise users.
Excellent. Thanks for answering that, Laurie. We have another question by Anthony. He says, is there any plans to support the serverless deployment on Lens, like open FAAS?
I think this is very cool feature to be implemented by Lens extensions. So with Lens extensions API, vendors are able to create some extensions that will improve the core Lens functionalities. And yeah, for example, Open Faas is very good example what could be extension for Lens.
Excellent. Yeah, so as Laurie mentioned, you currently can build extensions on top of Lens as of right now. There's several different partners that are currently building extensions. Mirantis builds extensions, and there are certified extensions that we've also approved that you can find on GitHub that you can leverage for your Kubernetes initiatives, right? So you can use extensions like one that Aqua Security created, which show vulnerability reports and so forth. Rashid asked, any plans to offer some kind of Lens Spaces with the IDE throughout the web browser? Any plans to offer some kind of Lens Spaces with the IDE throughout the web browser?
Yeah, many people have requested something that could be support web browsers. For sure, there will be some functionalities in a web browser for Lens Spaces, but I doubt we are going to introduce any IDE throughout the web browser. I think the desktop application has proven that it has certain benefits. So Yeah, but there will be some functionalities on the web browsers too.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for answering that, Laurie. All right, everybody. Are there any other questions, or shall we give you guys back 30 minutes in your day? I know that's quite a bit of time. So hopefully there are some more questions, but if they are not, we can call that a session, and I will be sharing this recording online as well for other individuals to take a look at it. And again, guys, this is a beta version, and Lens, the open source tool that works with any certified Kubernetes distribution, does not need a user Lens Spaces account. So that will always be accessible without a user account. I want that to be made quite clear. So many of our users will not have to create an account and access Lens Spaces if they choose not to do so. Now, if you do want to share Kubernetes clusters securely in an encrypted fashion, you will have to create a Lens Spaces account. So I'll give it one more minute to see if anybody else has any questions. I really, really do appreciate each and every single one of you for joining us today. I know this was short-lived, but we do plan on doing many more of these meetups and demos in the future as Lens 5 beta gets more enhanced with new features and once Lens 5 beta is actually released. So we'll give one more minute, and if nobody has any other questions, I will end today's webinar. Looks like, did we get one more question? We did. Mario, when using Lens Spaces, I would, for example, no longer have to use AWS SSO on a daily basis to access my clusters. Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
We have also a question about Spaces agent. Is it open source? Yes, it will be open source. I think it's already open source. I can quickly check if I have a link.
Nope.
Yep. Should be here.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Laurie. Yes, that is the GitHub repo for the Bordy agent, which is the technology behind Lens Connect. Any other questions, everybody? Any other questions? Otherwise, we will call this as a session. All righty. It looks like there are no more other questions. I would love to ask each and every single one of you to join us in our community Slack channel, slack.com/KHLens, where you can actually interact with Laurie, myself, other members of the core dev team. You can ask questions, troubleshooting, reporting bugs. We prefer that happens in GitHub, but you can always reach out to us on Slack. We are there every single day, and we can have a conversation there as well. So please join our Slack, check out Lens 5 beta. That would be greatly appreciated. And again, please share some feedback with us. Without further ado, I would like to thank each and every single one of you for joining us today. Have a wonderful evening, day, or night, and please stay safe. Thanks, everybody, and goodbye.
Thanks. Bye.